So it's official, Fernando Alonso is staying with Aston Martin for another 2 seasons. This is a move that has been bubbling away for a little while, ever since Lewis Hamilton made that announcement, that shock announcement he's moving to Ferrari next season. The biggest question everyone's had has been, where will Fernando Alonso go? Will he replace Hamilton? Fernando Alonso joked to us today in the media call he had after this news announcement was made that he's glad he won't have to be answering those questions, because every media session he's had, that question has come up, that question has been thrown at him. And his reasons for staying are quite simple. He fully believes in that project that Lawrence Stroll, the owner of Aston Martin F1 team, is putting together. You know, he's invested massively in the Silverstone facility that they have there. He's brought a bunch of talent from other teams' technical departments. And quite importantly, they've got the Honda engine joining in 2026. Now, there was a time when all of us in Formula One would have bet good money that Fernando Alonso and Honda would never ever work together again, from, you know, some of the controversy and some of the bad things that were said from Fernando Alonso to Honda when he was there with McLaren Honda for a few years. Now, that all appears to be water under the bridge. I think Honda have realized that if they're working with Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso is a guy that they can win a championship with, win races with. And imagine if they could do that. Fernando Alonso will be 45 years old in 2026. Absolutely incredible. Where does this leave the driver market? It's quite obvious that Carlos Sainz was looking at the Aston Martin seat as a potential place to go. But yeah, Fernando Alonso has always been number one for them. Sainz is in a really bizarre position now. You know, he's in the form of his life. You know, we saw him win the Australian Grand Prix. He was on the podium again in Suzuka. Is probably behind Max Verstappen, the grid's most informed driver right now. And yet he seems to be struggling to convince some of these teams that he is, a viable option for them going forward. From what I understand, the Sauber option is still a strong one there. There's the Audi part of that coming in. It will be Audi in 2026. It will have an Audi engine. It will be a manufacturer team. But I think there's a lot of question marks about that project. And it's probably why we haven't seen that decision made yet from Carlos Sainz. He hasn't pledged himself there yet. The Sauber team in itself, a lot of infrastructure that needs improving, a lot of things that, are just not quite right there. Audi seemingly coming in with an uphill struggle. Now, why am I talking about Sauber and not Red Bull? I think Sainz has been talking to Red Bull. I think that Red Bull have been interested in the option of Sainz, but I think that Sergio Perez has been doing exactly what they want of him. He's been solid. He's scored second position at 3 of the 4 races this season. And really, when your teammates with Max Verstappen, that's what you want at Red Bull. You don't want a driver coming in and upsetting the harmony. And if Carlos Sainz is competitive there, he may well do that. But I think a lot of drivers, Carlos Sainz included, are a little bit skeptical about going to Red Bull and racing against Max, because he's a teammate killer and he's done it to every single teammate he's had since he joined Red Bull. So I think that Perez, barring something going wrong for him, will be staying at Red Bull. As we know, Mercedes are leaning towards promoting their wonder kid, Kimi Antonelli, because Toto Wolff is absolutely determined to not let happen next year what happened in 2014 when Mercedes had Max Verstappen in the palm of their hands. They had him, he was theirs, and then Red Bull swooped in, offered him a seat at Toro Rosso, and the rest is history. He is now a Red Bull driver, a multiple champion with Red Bull. Toto Wolff has looked at the situation. They've got Kimi Antonelli on their books. They've had him on their books for a little while, and they've said, we can't let that happen again. And I think that has dictated actually a lot of what has followed, because as soon as that door closed for Fernando Alonso, he decided that Aston Martin was where he wanted to stay. That has had a ramification on Carlos Sainz, who, has seen 2 very good options close up to him as well. And he's now kind of backed into a corner. Does he pick Sauber? Does he hope that Red Bull go a different direction from Perez, something that from my conversations I can't see happening? We'll see. But I think Carlos Sainz's future will be the big talking point now going to China, and I wouldn't actually be surprised if we know in the next couple of weeks what his decision is. So watch this space. But what we do know, Fernando Alonso staying in Formula One for another 2 seasons at the very least with Aston Martin.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.